actually like to hear my voice resonate. Is this resonating to myself, to others? So I constantly, with anyone I would bump into and say what I'm doing. So I'm on the second day of the All In podcast, and it's all good. And at the second day, and I arrive there in the morning, I get there a little late, and they got the first person on stage, and I got to go have my egg protein thing and my coffee, and I'm sitting in the convention hall next to the main speakers event, and I'm sitting there, and this pretty gal walks by me, and then she comes back and she says, "Is anyone sitting here? I'm at this high top bar." I'm like, "Oh, of course not. Yeah, of course you can sit here." And so she sits there down, and I'm getting my coffee, and we're all looking at our phones and stuff. And suddenly I look up and I turn to my right. I go, "That's fucking Alex Karp." And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" I'm like, "That's Alex Karp. He's coming. He's walking towards us." And a few other people recognize him, and he's cool about it, and he's like doing selfies with them, but he's walking literally right towards us. And I say to her, "Here's my phone. You take my phone. I'm getting a picture with Alex Karp." And so it's like, "Oh, okay." So Alex literally walks right up to us. I go, "Alex." He's like, "What's up, my man?" I go, "Alex, you are the bomb." He's like, "Oh, really?" He looks right and goes, "Why do you think that?" And I'm like, "Oh, because your intellectual power and clarity is unsurpassed right now." I'm just a big Alex Karp fan. If it's not because I think he's so clear on some really important priorities for us as a nation, for things that are really important for the future and prosperity of this country and any country for that matter, especially those countries that espouse freedom and values. And anyways, he's like, he looks at me in the eye, goes, "Hey, Robbie, get this guy's contact. I want to have coffee with him." Then the girls right there go, "You get a picture with him. You get a picture with him." And so I snap a picture of the two of them together. And then by that time, the whole convention hall recognizes that it's Alex, and we're flooded, and it's all good. And so the final point I'll say is the girl comes back to the table, and I say, "Well, he doesn't have a girlfriend." Because I'd heard him talk. I'd heard him say that. He's like, I was too poor and too ugly in college, and now I'm too rich and too busy. So, and she's like, "Yeah, I know. I think I got a date with him." I'm like, "There you go." She's like, and she goes, "Do you believe in manifesting?" And I go, "Yeah, I do." And she's like, "You fucking manifested that, didn't you? You made that happen." And I said, "Well, in some ways, I believe I did, because literally leading up to wanting to attend the podcast, to then meet this new friend of mine, my new bestie, who says, "Let's go," and me completely, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to meet? Alex Karp. And then to meet Alex Karp, and then to have his attaché connect with me. And at some point, I'm going to have coffee with him and hopefully his new girlfriend. And the three of us are going to be like, "God, that was cool when we met at the All In Summit." So did I have a good time at the podcast summit? Yeah, I really did. Yeah, that was great.
You're making me jealous. I've been listening to that podcast since about episode 20, and every year they've had the summit. I've been like, "Oh man, I'd just love to go." So next year I'll go for sure.
Okay, well maybe we'll meet up. Let's do it. I mean, I'm in. I'm in if you're in. I'm on the fence of like, should I go again? It's an expensive ticket.
Yeah, very.
Crazy.
But obviously it's worth it. And I bring this up because, like you said before you started telling your story, there's a lot of doom and gloom about AI, health, like money, like governments and money, all that sort of stuff. But as you listen to the All In podcast, you understand that there is a lot of positivity in that. Like this technology can help us become better as humans, as a nation, as a civilization. So like going into it, I guess, what were your expectations? And then coming out of it, was there any things like, "Oh yeah, like this is going to help us move forwards"?
Yeah, I think going into it was exactly, I wanted to be with a bunch of like-minded people, which I think that the All In crowd, so to speak, are positive about the future. They're builders, and they're using technology to build. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been using technology, and I love the utilization of technology, and I believe in opportunity, and I believe in prosperity, and how do we create that and sustain it. And so like definitely that's about part of what the book that I wrote and what I continue to work on in my businesses. And what I did find was, yeah, that people that were there were just like, they were open-minded. They wanted to meet you. They wanted to hear what you were doing, and they wanted to explain what they were doing. And it was a sharing of ideas and camaraderie about excitement and optimism for the future. And yeah, it didn't fail. It delivered.
Mm. Yeah, again, just hearing your stories, I'm just so excited to get there. I like again love their content and obviously love what they're all about. Um, let's dive into your book. So our first conversation was all about your book and what you'd learned. So like, we won't go over that again. But my question would be, is like, wouldn't you, I don't want to know if you want to change anything because all the information in there is great and like, it helps people become healthy, wealthy. And my question was, sorry, got sidetracked there.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would add into the book now? So how long has it been since you've written the book and what would you add in since writing it?
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half since I published the book. Actually, no, sorry, it's just been a year. It's been a
Mm.
year since I published it, and it's an interesting journey. Yeah, obviously writing the book. As I mentioned, I'm in the process of writing a second edition to this book. So I'm working on that right now, primarily because I've written a second book, which I expect to be able to publish within the end of the month here.
Oh, wow.
And what's really exciting about the book I'm publishing, it's going to be called, the working title is The Longevity Crisis: When Millions Outlive the System. And the subtitle is N equals one. And so N equals one is N of one. We're all N of one. When we talk about any sort of study, any sort of probability, it's the N equals the size of the group. So N of 1,000 is a study that would have 1,000 participants in the study. And we use N of one, N of 10, N of 1,000, N of 10,000 to come up with these big conclusions about science and about things and how things work out. I work a lot in actuarial math, right? N of 10,000, I can tell you how many people will die this year. The problem is I can't tell you which person. And that's the N of one. See, so we're all N of one. And so this book is about the longevity crisis, which is really not that, it's sort of like, well, what's the crisis? And the crisis is, frankly, we are all living much longer than we used to. And we're converging, that's converging with a massive, at least here in the US, demographic wave of boomers, we call them. So we have this massive demographic wave that is converging with longer life expectancy and a retirement system that isn't designed to support them. And so this is a real big problem here in the US and globally for that matter. And it's really what I've been working on, really, which is this idea of having money and growing old and not being, I like to say, you can grow old, but there's two things you got to avoid: being broke and alone. Right? You can be broke, but you can't be alone, or you can be alone, but you're not broke. So like you got to avoid both of those together as the best case scenario. So anyways, I'm writing this book. And within that, it's about the collective system, right? So as we grow old, we rely on the collective. We rely on society. The only way to offset this risk of growing old of N equals one is a safety net, is a multi-tiered safety net of the collective. And then we talk about blue zones. And when you look at blue zones, what they have is a better collective safety net that releases the anxiety of growing old and being poor and impoverished and destitute and isolated. And so how do we get there? And it's a multi-tiered system to help avoid that, but the individual plays a very important role. So we as individuals have an individual role in making sure that we don't grow old, poor, and alone. And it turns out the book, Healthy, Wealthy, Longevity, really is an explanation of the individual's role in that.